Alright, Path of Exile players, so check out this intro clip that I wanted to go ahead and showcase. What we're doing is we're going to apply Electrocute to the boss. They're not going to be able to move, and then they essentially get stunned again. You can pretty much do this in the earlier stages of the game for most of the bosses. Therefore, you don't have to engage in any of the mechanics. That's one of the things that I really wanted to focus in on with the brand new updated Amazon build guide for essentially the early endgame as well as like the mid endgame. Another thing that I want to go ahead and showcase really quick at like the intro for the start of the video is that this build is not going to have a lot of gimmicks that you have to play. As in, if you just want to throw lightning spear and not do any of these things where you like jump back, you try to build up those frenzy charges in other ways, you use sniper's mark, you do not have to. You're going to see this is gameplay of a T15 map. Keep in mind again, my gear, everything is under a divine. Like I'm talking the whole entire build is barely, it's not even half a divine. Everything is really cheap because all the prices went down for everything as, you know, time goes on with any action RPG. Unless, of course, you're trying to get like really good corruption on some of the uniques. Everything is incredibly cheap. I'm talking like one exalted for the uniques that we need for the build to function correctly. So first off, let me just get to the boss of this. This is a T15 map, by the way. Again, keep in mind, this is like earlier gameplay. I'm at a little bit further stages now, but I want to go and show you guys that this is the boss over here, and you can still do good damage, again, without good gear. Again, keep in mind, this is super budget friendly, and on top of that, I'm only using one button. If you do want to get those extra frenzy charges, you will do way more damage. But again, just want to show you that you can actually play this game even at the end game state with specifically just like one skill. So if you kind of like are a lazy game player, that's the way the Amazon was designed though. It was designed for you guys to use multiple skills, but you can get away with it because the class is just kind of overtuned, to be honest. But let's go ahead and start it off with the skills. So this is what we actually play. And by the way, in the earlier gameplay stages, the gameplay that you guys are seeing right now even, I did not have a 6 link. I had a 5. Right now, it's literally one Exalted Orb gets you like 4 of the 5 links. So it's so easy now to go ahead and get like a 5 link. To get the 6 link, the perfect one, it's like 60, I believe it's like 60 Exalts at the moment, but keep in mind prices always fluctuate, but that's like realistic. Before, yeah, it was just like several divines. But anyways, starting off, we run Lightning Spear. If you need it, this for a leveling build guide, by the way, I will link another video also, but this one's mainly focusing around like the end game, as in like once you're like level 60-ish, once you've are at basically either Act 6 or like Act 3 in the harder difficulty. That's kind of where this build is oriented around like showcasing in terms of it's like DPS and all that stuff. Obviously we can scale way higher, but it's like around like 60 plus. Anyways, long shot here, primal armament, lightning infusion, martial tempo, and then bullseye. These are what we run here. And this is actually quite important to run, as this is kind of a way that we can actually apply these electrocutions. So we run Neural Overload in Herald Thunder, and we run Innervate, we run Electrocute, as well as Persistence to get that increased skill effect duration of the bonus on Innervate. And then we run, this is optional, this is just what I use to execute things. If you want to build up again those frenzy charges, Call of the Weak will be something that enables it. We also play Wind Dancer. The only thing that really matters here is precision, but if you want to play like blind, maim, and arm's length, like again, the jeweler's orbs are so cheap now, you might as well just max these out. And then this is actually important. This is how we generate frenzy charges without even really trying. And what I mean by not trying is like you don't really have to do anything other than like the buff just is active. So what you do is you activate this, and what it does is you gain a frenzy charge when you either electrocute an enemy or these other conditions, but the only one that matters for us is electrocute. The really unfortunate part with this is it has such a long cooldown on it. Yeah, it's like 4-second cooldown. It's like so incredibly long. That's why you can't like infinitely have frenzy charges. It's just very difficult to upkeep. You can also run Sniper's Mark if you want to generate more frenzy charges. That is another option, but for the most part, like Combat Frenzy and Profusion can give you an additional charge. Another thing that can give you another charge is if you put quality into this, it will give you an additional 20% chance to generate an additional frenzy charge. So this gives you 50% for an additional charge, and then you have another 20. So in total, you have a 70% chance to get 2 charges every few seconds. Again, I haven't really seen a build that is able to 100% uptime just off of Combat Frenzy, but for the most part, this is like an easier way to, again, get free frenzy charges without having to push a different button, because I get it. I really hate pushing the other button too, but if you want to run Call of the Weak to gain charges, that's cool. Disengage, I don't really utilize too much. Later in the game, I actually really liked playing with Thunderous Leap, so we run Thunderous Leap with Hit and Run, Cadence, Lightning Exposure, as well as Shocking Leap. What this does is it can apply a debuff to the enemy so we can make it take more lightning damage with the exposure here. but it's just used for a mobility skill. I don't have it even like in the earlier stages when I was leveling, but later I really like the skill and I highly recommend it. And you don't have to put in any of the support gems for it. It's just because when there's terrain where you can jump up or down, Thunder Sleep is just excellent for that. And then this is something that's important to mention: the companion. So you can either do cast on crit, cast on shock, you can add all these other things, but I really think companion is what I personally prefer. And the reason why is he holds aggro. He makes it so you have a lot more tankiness because of the support gems that we play with. So we play the Quadrilla. If you need to know how to get a Quadrilla, I have a video guide that goes over it. You basically have to go to a very specific area. I mean, a lot of people wanted to know where this thing was, but basically you go in and you refresh the map again and again. It's a random if he spawns in. It's like a Pokemon. You got to get lucky and you have to catch the right one, basically. But if you need that, just look this video up, or if I remember, I'll also link it. But basically, you want to make sure it is a Quadrilla because he gives you a haste aura. The haste aura will give you 10% attack speed, and the only reason why I run it is not the attack speed. I just want movement speed. PoE 2 is super stingy with giving you movement speed in the game. Everything's like nerfed for like, mobility in the game. So I really like having the Quadrilla literally for movement speed. But anyways, what we run with him, we run the companion, we run loyalty, meat shield, elemental army, minion mastery, and if you can fit culling strike, and I don't really expect anyone to really 6-link companion here, but if you can fit culling strike, I mean, he can maybe eliminate a boss for you. Kind of nice, but obviously that's in culling strike range. But I like all of these. These other 4 are absolutely like a must over here. It just makes your build tankier and then also him a little bit more tankier. I love it. It makes the game feel a lot more fun just having this little companion that kind of holds aggro. He is dumb. Sometimes he sits in AoE, but it's fine. You don't have to interact with him. He automatically gets revived on his own, which was really nice. But yeah, that's it for the companion over here. And then I want to move into the gear now. So 2 important pieces of gear to get this build up and running that are literally 1 Exalt: Kotoku's Current as well as Lycoside. So what do these do? So this build is an Amazon build, and all Amazons build want to scale heavily into crit, but you just get accuracy and then you get a huge chunk of it specifically from that. There's some diminishing returns at the point where like it's not really valuable to get more accuracy realistically because you only need so much. I don't know what the magic number is, but currently I'm about 20,000, and it's pretty comfortable once you're at 20,000. You could probably squeeze up to 30 if you really try to get it all on your rings and stuff, but it gets pretty pricey and you really don't need it. So don't feel like you have to get so much accuracy. I feel like 15,000 should be like pretty comfortable if you happen to get some stuff with accuracy, because I was trying to get it earlier on and it's really not worth it because you get diminishing returns specifically on this over here. So this critical strike node with the ascendancy makes it so your attacks that can exceed 100% gain additional critical strike chance, but there's some diminishing returns at some point. So don't feel like, again, you don't need more than 100% crit anyways. But once you're about level like 70, 80-ish, you should be nearing like 90 to 100%. Like right now I'm over 100% crit. But for the most part, don't go over it. There's no real need to. And again, you start getting really big diminishing returns. However, if you still stack accuracy, you can get crazy amounts of attack speed. I'm at over 3 attacks per second right now. It is pretty ridiculous. But that's just something to mention that's important. And that ties into Lycoside because it gives you your accuracy rating is doubled. So again, this is a super cheap item, so everyone's going to be able to get this. And then this is important to mention. So this, all it does that's important is that it doubles our accuracy rating. That's why we use it. Now, with Kotoku's Current, what this does is it gives us the special power. None of the stats really matter here. The only thing that you want to look at is lightning damage contributes to electrocution buildup. Otherwise, you have to run a gem to do this, which you can do, but you can also get this specifically on your Herald of Thunder. If you don't want to run that, that's fine. It's just earlier on, you may not be able to proc it as often as you would want to, so Kotoku's Current is great. Again, and the reason why I wanted to include it is because it's super cheap. And again, getting that electrocution buildup really helps out on bosses. So if you drop this, your boss, like, battles may suffer unless you do enough DPS. If you do enough DPS to the point where you're one-shotting the boss, especially in the earlier stages, it may take you like 5-10 seconds. And like the boss in PoE, they do usually some sort of slam attack. If you're running an evasion-based build and you don't move out of the way, you're dead. So what this really helps out with, and you'll see the gameplay again, it's the intro clip where I showed off the boss, where like it's just like perma-stun. And I do this on every single boss earlier on. It was great. Later on, I ended up doing so much damage that I dropped it. And if you click on this little thing over here where it says like mid-endgame, I actually ended up dropping that to get some more survivability as well as getting more crit damage. But in the earlier stages, I love this, man. This thing was excellent. It was just like everything on the screen was just constantly stunned, and that's why it makes the build super tanky. Plus, not only do you have an evasion-based build, but you also have incredible block chance, which we'll get into. But I just wanted to mention at the start the 2 uniques and what they do, because the rest of the stats are garbage on both of these items for the most part. And you get some decks, but for the most part, it's just used for the electrocution buildup, and this way you don't lose out on shock, because one of them like removes shock and it gives you electrocute instead, and then it's also another gem that you have to run for a support gem in your lightning spirit, which you don't really want to do. And then like we see again, your accuracy rating is just doubled, because that's what makes you gain a lot more crit in the build. So for starters, we want a spear. We want high amounts of accuracy on it. We want physical and or lightning damage, and then also percent physical is great, and you get increased attack speed, crit damage bonus, level of all projectile skills. You can get hybrid light radius, plus you can also get extra attack rating on it. If you can get corruption, like mine has a corruption, so I have 2 sockets in it. Don't feel like you have to get this. By the way, this is not my spear that I'm using in the gameplay. The spear that I'm using in the gameplay is a lot worse. I'm just showing you guys the correct stats because I have light radius on mine. Do I suggest light radius? Not really, because this way you guys can see what items you should look out for. Again, my gear is much worse than what you see here. I'm just showing you guys what would be the ideal stuff to get. As far as the helm goes, we just want to get any helm with evasion base, as all the bases, by the way, you want are evasion rating, because we're not going to scale into strength or get any int. The only int you need is specifically 43 to run Kotokos and then 52 to run Lycoside. The rest, slam it all in the decks. But for the helm, just a bunch of accuracy rating. You can get max life, resistances. For the chest piece, high evasion, plus you want to try to get spirit and then just resistances. For the rings, you're just looking for resistances. You can also go for attributes here. You can also go for accuracy rating, you can go for physical damage, you can go for lightning damage, and then you can go for max life as well. Any combination of those in the rings. And then for our amulet, one thing that is important to mention is specifically getting plus projectiles is great for a lot of damage. If you can allocate Wildstorm, that is ideal, but more likely you're going to get that a lot later. The way you can get a cheap amulet is just to buy an amulet that already has Wildstorm plus some other stuff for like 30, 40. Exalted Orbs. If you want to allocate this yourself, it's going to cost a lot, so it's going to be non-budget if you do it that way, but the whole goal is to try to make this really cheap. Again, the whole build is under a divine. Like I said, it's probably like half a divine, but as far as it goes, the amulet, the allocates Wildstorm. If you were to, again, craft this yourself using those oils, the little like distilled things from the Delirium mechanic, that will actually make it expensive. So just buy the amulet that already has Wildstorm allocated and hope that you can get one with Spirit. If you can get a Solar, that's even better, but you don't have to. But getting level to all projectile skills is really good. There is a amulet called Beacon, which can ignore elemental resistances, but in the very earlier stages, I think getting the additional Spirit on the amulet is more valuable, as well as getting the max life and plus level of all projectile skills, plus getting attributes or the resistances is much more valuable on the amulet. But as far as it goes for the shield, just like Lycoside, and then for our belt, we want to try to get some life on it. You can get some mana, you can get resistances, as well as getting some strength here, so you don't have to allocate it on your tree. And then we are looking for boots, specifically with some movement speed. If we can get dex in there, that's cool too. But just 35% movement speed for me is like the bare minimum. And then you want max life, mana. You can get increased evasion rating. Doesn't matter. As far as the charms go, there's one that I kind of was messing around with. I was playing with this one in the gameplay where whenever we take lightning damage, we just gain a frenzy charge. It was kind of cool. You can keep this in if you want to. It's not bad at all. And then I just got immunity to frozen and shocked, or you can get stun immunity as well if you want to. But later on, what I've actually really liked, and I'll probably like make a dedicated video towards this, I think one of the coolest things to get is these charms that are for like cold, fire, and lightning. So I have one for each element, and then I got gain guard during effect. This was fantastic. It let me play really dumb and just kind of stand in a lot of AoE, because after I take damage, there's a huge buffer where you get basically 500 damage that you're not taking. Think of it kind of like Steel Skin, but it's like all the damage absorbed, and then it can give you like 500 basically HP whenever you take any of the element damage. It's really OP. I hope they don't nerf it. I was originally running this one with a gold charm, but the problem with the gold charm is it literally lasts 1 minute, so I didn't like that. So yeah, these last for 4 seconds, and then if you get any like mods with increased charm duration, which can roll on jewels and stuff, then these can last like, you know, 5-6 seconds with like 500 they're like damage mitigated. Very, very fantastic things to get. But again, you guys can click on either one of these to see kind of like the gear that I kind of started upgrading into. As far as jewels go, earlier on, what I recommend you guys to get is either life on kill on, you can get this on rings, like life and mana on kill is great, but you can also get it, for some reason the jewel doesn't show up here, but there's a jewel that you can get that gives you percent life or percent mana on kill. If you run just one jewel that has both those, like a couple exalted orbs, you can get something like that. But later on, once you start getting better gear, ideally what I would try to suggest you guys to get, since we're not running beacon in my version of the build because I'm trying to make it cheap and budget friendly, is you just get penetration here on your jewels. So you get pen on your jewels because crit is very expensive on jewels. That's why, again, keeping it budget friendly. You can go for attack speed, but specifically magnitude of ailments, because you apply electrocute and you also apply shock. So you get magnitude of the ailments that you inflict, and then also you get the penetration here. So a couple nodes on the passive tree, and then we get like 3 jewels here, and then we get pretty much near the same amount. You can end up getting like 65%, depending on your rolls. You get pretty much close to 75, which is the ideal goal to mitigate all of the resistances from specifically the bosses, because they have 75 res. But as far as it goes, there's not really too many other differences other than like later get the jewels. You don't really need the jewels earlier on because you won't have the sockets because they're quite far on the progression in terms of the skill tree. But speaking of the skill tree, let's go ahead and go over that. So as far as it goes in the earlier stages, the first 3 points, because those are like the easy ones, right? You want to get the critical strike node, you want to get the penetrate node, so you want to get accuracy on your weapon. That is absolutely key. At this point, I have like 900 accuracy on my weapon. Keep in mind, that's the local one. You want to go ahead and put vision runes in your weapon. That's going to give you bonuses. And if you need any of like the resistances, just throw them in here. It's not really too important to mention that. But basically, you want to go ahead and get this ASAP because this makes your build do like literally double DPS. Even in the earlier stages, you just get a weapon that just has a lot of accuracy. Get this first, and then you can get Predatory Instinct. And then for the last one, which is in the other part of the tree, we ended up getting in for the kill. But if you want to run anything else, it doesn't really matter. This one's not that important. This one's okay, but for the most part, these 3 are absolutely mandatory. And then this is the last one you get. If you want to play with any other ones, if you want to go for Elemental Infusion, go for it. It's a little hurdle because you have to run like Sniper's Mark or another way. But as far as the skill tree goes, in the very beginning, we just get some extra attack speed over here because I like attack speed, and then we get this extra movement speed because I hate moving slow in action RPGs. We get some penetration over here, some extra accuracy. We get some crit. You don't have to take this one. Cooked is actually really good because it gives you crazy damage. It does have a downside. If you don't want to run it, don't run it. It's no big deal. If you feel like you're a little bit squishy, remove that. And then over here, we can get extra attack speed per deck since we're going to be getting a lot of decks. Keep in mind, as far as these nodes go, you may not need to put any into int. You can throw them all into dex, and the reason why is because I put on the gear some stats, but again, in the earlier stages, you might not have a ring that has int or, a belt that has strength, so you'll have to kind of move some stuff around. So you can put it on the tree earlier on. That way you don't have to manage gear as much. The important things to mention, Bestial Skin is absolutely amazing, but this one's great too, and then we get this extra crit node. I actually do like getting acrobatics, and then we get extra damage here, some extra damage. The most important thing, this is how we become tanky, okay? So we get in crazy amount of block chance. I have 67. If you get a corruption on Lycoside, the shield, you can get increased block chance. But all of this block chance is just so godly, man. I feel like it's so busted that we're getting this on like a ranged build to have block. And then we get this increased skill speed, movement speed. We get all of these nodes except for the accuracy. Again, once you get to a certain point with the accuracy, you really don't need it anymore. But this one, Falcon Drive, man, with 20,000 accuracy rating, the attack speed goes crazy. So Lycoside just enables so much in the build. And then because, again, I don't play Beacon, I'm trying to make it more budget friendly by getting all of the pen in other areas. Something to mention over here, I was trying out Pinpoint Shot. I'm not sure how it registers in the game, but as far as I can tell, it's not giving me an incredible amount of DPS boost. I tried it numerically in-game, and in POB, it doesn't say we get like crazy amounts. I think it's because it's the attacks gain the accuracy rating, not like your character gets it, if that makes sense. So you don't get a lot of these other stacking buffs like this one is the attack speed per accuracy rating, where this is the attacks gain it. I don't know. It's just probably the wording or the way it's coded. Either way, this one may be something that could be considered. Like I said, I tried it numerically. This was just better in terms of numbers. But yeah, getting all this pen will be great because we don't play Beacon. And again, with the 3 jewels, it gives us about 10% each. We're looking at 30, and then we get another 30 here, and then that is already 60. And then we have this, so it's like 72. If you want to get more pen, you can go for it. But past 75, as far as I'm aware of, there's no real big need. You can actually put monsters in the negative. We also have lightning exposure on one of the skills over here. If you want to run Thunder Sleep and apply exposure, then you get another -20, and then that one can go in the negatives. But as far as it goes, the thing that we anoint over here is Wild Storm. This is what I like to anoint, but if you want a path up here, it's really not that bad. There's some crit over here that you can grab, and then you can just go grab all of that. But anyways, I'll be making some adjustments to the build probably later down the line. Might want to throw in some energy shield, but this is kind of the build that I've been playing on the live stream, and since a lot of you guys had asked, I kind of for the build, this is like my early introduction to it, because technically we've been playing a lot of last fucking Diablo, so I know this build is a little bit late for like the league, but nonetheless, there is a big update, so I think a lot more Path of Exile players will be playing, and that's why I want to go ahead and actually give you guys an update to the build, as well as show off the build in case you guys want to maybe try out a different class, or maybe you want to hop in and play, because I had a couple people come in and ask, hey, is Path of Exile good, and is it fun to jump into? Right now, honestly, after the updates, the game is much better. I legitimately stopped playing because the game got super negative reviews because well, they came out and they just really didn't give us loot. They have updated and given us a lot more loot in terms of like the drop ratios, and the game has gotten much better because of that, and that's why I'm playing the game again, and it does feel way better. And later this upcoming week, they're actually adding a new update, which I just made a video on, that is going to give us even more loot, and it's the super rare, like legendary unique items. They're going to be a lot easier to get. We don't know what the drop rate is, but if I can get like things like Temporalis, and you know, I can also tell you guys, hey, this is something that most people can achieve, it's a lot easier now, especially when you look at the price of like getting a 6th link. Oh, it's so much more beginner friendly. We're talking miles ahead. Considering this whole build is less than a half a divine, to me is crazy. And again, these uniques, let me go and actually show you guys real quick. Okay, so I busted out the trade website. You can get these gloves for way cheap. These used to be a lot more pricey. Same thing with Lycoside. These were like actually much more pricey. But now that these uniques are like super accessible for everyone, I'm really glad, because now you guys can go ahead and hop in, play, have an incredibly tanky build that does crazy DPS as well. And yeah, very awesome. Anyways, have some fun with the build, guys. If there's any ways to improve the build, let me know down below. But keep in mind, if you guys are giving me suggestions, I want it to be budget friendly. Don't say, yeah, just add this item that is like several divines. I want to keep all of my build guides very budget friendly. But anyways, take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. And if there's any updates to it, I will update you guys later down the line. So sub if you guys want to see that, if you're new here, and I'll catch you gamers in the next video. And also, the planner will be in the pin as well as the link in the bio.